unmanned aerial vehicles, quadcopters. Call them what you want, they are the hottest gadget in today's tech market. With a common quality drone able to capture 4K video and images from 1,600 feet, be controlled in real time via a smartphone app, and travel at speeds over 60 kilometers an hour, it's no wonder thousands of Canadians have made piloting their drone their new favorite pastime. Until recently, perhaps, as sweeping new rules have certainly degraded the fun factor for many drone owners. Today we explore the ins and outs of the modern drone and whether or not the new restrictions in place hit the mark or have perhaps gone too far.
Hey Calgary, I'm Kevin Chorney. Thanks for joining us tonight. Well, we're talking drones, and there's a lot to talk about, fellas. I'm joined tonight by Dave Curry from Aviation, as well as John Wennerstrom. You're from Multi Rotor Heli. Guys, thanks very much for being here. Maybe I'll start with you, John. Tell us a bit about Multi Rotor Heli and your role there.
Well, my role at Multi Rotor Heli, I came in with the owner. His name's Nabil. He's a really good guy to deal with. He brought me in kind of doing contract maintenance. And so I thought I would do maintenance for a while, but that's grown into a much larger role. So I've kind of turned into kind of the senior tech lead in handling the repairs. And we have 4 people doing repairs, 2 basically full-time, and we have 2 part-time high school girls that come in and help us from time to time.
Cool beans.
And so from that's morphed into more a sales and support role, and also moving into industrial sales as well.
What kind of volume are we talking about these days, as far as retail drones? Basically?
I can't give you retail numbers in terms of millions of dollars, but we're literally thousands of units.
You're very busy.
Very, very, very busy,
yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Excellent. So this industry is going, it seems, nowhere but up, and that's kind of where you come in, Dave.
Yeah, so I've been in aviation for over 36 years. Started out as a pilot, then I went into aircraft maintenance engineering. When I retired in 2012, I was the chief engineer for Shell Canada's corporate aviation department, and also the chief engineer for the one in Houston as well. So I retired 2012. I was happily retired, and one of the things that I did, or a couple of things that I did when I was working for Shell, is I went to the University of Southern California and took a lot of courses in aircraft accident investigation,
yeah.
Helicopter accident investigation, safety management systems. So when I retired from Shell, I was actually quite happily retired in Hawaii, and I got a call from a company out of Australia.
That's not bad, okay, yeah.
And they got my name from the University of Southern California, and they were in the business of doing audits for different organizations. So what you have to understand with the regulations is Transport Canada regulations, the FAA regulations, they're all minimum requirements. There is no medium or higher standard. They're all minimum requirements. A lot of companies don't want to fly by the minimum requirements, and it's because of litigation as well. Mm-hmm. So we would write their standards, which would be, for example, Shell, if you're having a helicopter and you were slinging, they would want the instruments on the side of the helicopter. So while the pilot's slinging, you can still look at the instruments. So that would be a standard. So we wrote these standards for different companies, and then if they were using a helicopter company up in northern Canada, they had a couple of competing helicopter companies, we'd go up and audit them to their standards, and then we'd decide. So did that for a couple of years. It was fun, got to see a lot of places. My territory was from northern Alaska all the way down to Mexico, as far east as Quebec.
Big territory, yeah. So fast forward then, and bang, drones hit the market. It's a market that is obviously blossoming.
Yeah.
So you train people then. Essentially, nowadays you're training people to utilize.
So there are no Canadian aviation regulations yet for UAVs.
So there's rules that we'll get into a little bit later.
Yeah, there's advisory. That's all they have.
Okay. Yeah.
In order to have Canadian aviation regulations, there's a process. You have to, if there's going to be a change to the regulations, they have to publish it in the Canadian Gazette. And everything is published that could be made into a bill. Mm-hmm. So they publish it in the Canadian Gazette, then you have a month to review it or make, industry can submit changes to it, but after that they form it into a bill and then they make it into regulations. It's been really unfortunate the last 3 or 4 years that it's been passed, and now we're at a point where UAVs have grown exponentially and now we don't have any regulations. And so we're seeing the reactions like
Yeah,
Mark
it
Garneau,
seems just that reactionary, kind of knee-jerk, to be honest. And I want to get into that a little bit further, but before we do, let's talk about these drones here.
Sure.
No piece of consumer tech, John, really melds different technologies quite as impressively, in my opinion at least, as the modern drone. What technologies are at play in these machines here? What do we see in front of us?
Well, you've got a number of key technologies at play, and starting with the propulsion system, the motors and the battery, with lithium polymer batteries and the ability to deliver high amounts of current over a longer period of time, that was a key piece of technology. And then you get into brushless motors, so very high efficient, low draw motors to give you a lot of propulsion, because these things fly primarily because of the lift of the rotors. Once the rotors stop turning, the thing stops flying.
Sure.
In addition, you've got GPS technology, the ability for the aircraft to lock onto a GPS position and stay in a column. So again, with the latest technology in the Mavic, you could hover that thing up in the air and leave it there until it runs out of battery, and it won't move.
Yeah, incredible. So we're talking camera gimbal as well.
Camera and gimbal, yep,
video.
absolutely.
GPS you mentioned.
Yep, GPS.
Obviously an accelerometer.
Accelerometers, yes. Micro accelerometers. Like if you look at the circuitry, and I should have brought something, but if you look at the circuitry inside the Mavic, it's micro. You can't tell it. And also now with collision avoidance, that's another key technology that's coming in. And
so how does that work? Is that radar? I mean, how does that happen?
in the Mavic's case, it has two front cameras that it'll take two images. It will compare the images and then do a math calculation, saying, okay, well that object's too close. That's far away. It's fine.
Incredible. Yeah.
In addition, on the bottom, you've got sonar technology for the drones to help landing it, in addition to two cameras.
So there is a lot of tech packed into that thing.
There is a lot of tech, and if you look at the DJI Mavic here, that's the culmination of about 12 years of technology from one particular company, and they've every time they come out with a new version of a drone, they build on what they've learned from the past and they add it to the current product.
So what was the big breakthrough then, do you think? As far as the technology, the one piece of tech that took us from flying RC helicopters to these sophisticated drones that we see in front of us today?
The flight control systems, basically the flight controller, the main brain of the aircraft. So unlike when we were flying RC airplanes and helicopters years ago, where I was in full control, if I let go of the sticks, the aircraft would keep drifting off in a direction that it was flying.
Sure.
With the drone, you let go of the sticks and the aircraft will right itself and sit in a position until you give it a command.
So a lot of that software then, obviously.
It's a combination of software and hardware, yes.
Okay. Cost-wise, what are we looking at? So this is the Mavic Pro, latest and greatest. I think this is a Phantom. Is this a Phantom 2?
Phantom 3 Pro.
Phantom 3 Pro, okay. So what are we looking at as far as cost?
Currently, to get into a Mavic Pro, they're $1,349 plus tax.
$1,349.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you get, if you compare that to 5 or 6 years ago, to get the same technology in terms of what this offers, you're looking at about a $20,000 to $25,000 drone.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So, John, in your experience, are these things robust? They take a pretty good.
They actually do, and at Multi Rotor Heli, we've serviced a lot of aircraft, and we get aircraft from all over Canada. Yeah. And I haven't done the stats lately, but we've probably done in excess of 1,000 aircraft in the last year and a half in terms of repairs.
Is that so?
So, like a Phantom 3, they're a pretty tough aircraft. Again, there isn't anything on the aircraft we can't fix. It just becomes, do you buy a new one or do you fix your old one type thing.
Yeah, of course.
The Mavic has proven to be a very robust little airplane. They work very well.
Yeah, clearly. Incredible. Dave, what's the, I guess, can I just pick this up and fly this? Or is there a bit of a steep learning curve for me to be able to kind of know what I'm doing when it comes to piloting a drone?
Well, there's two answers to that question. The first one is, you can fly it very easily, and that's part of the problem. It's because they're so easy to fly. Yeah. People think, well, hey, let's just go fly it, right?
Yeah, sure.
There are a lot of serious regulations when you fly this. So to answer one of your questions, you can take that and yes, you can go fly it. Okay. However, you have to know where you're going to fly it. Yeah. And when you're going to fly it.
Yeah, and there's a lot of places you can't fly. There is well, the sweeping regulations, I do want to touch on it. Before we do, though, bear with me here, guys. What are people using these for? If I'm going to just pick it up, fly it for capturing video, pictures, is that the big allure for hobbyist use? Is that really primarily what people are doing with these?
Yeah, and you know, it continually amazes me when you're talking to people and you get down into the details in terms of what they're doing with the drone. It's like, well, wait a second, I never thought of that.
Yeah.
So primarily, you know, they take pictures and videos, but then it's what you can do with the pictures and videos after the fact that is the amazing thing.
So how do you mean? The people are editing, putting together what? Shots of their vacations?
Shots of their vacations, you know, shots of their farms. You know, you could take, you could run a lot of the images through software, and you can create 3D maps. You can create big-time orthomosaic, you know, masterpieces.
Commercially, what are your clients utilizing drones for?
It's just incredible. I think when I first started teaching, most of the people were using photography. I'll bet you probably 10% now come on my course that are just using it for photography. We have university students who are using it for geomapping. I taught courses to the University of Calgary where people are getting their doctorate degrees using UAVs with agriculture, surveying.
Incredible,
I mean, you name it. Pipeline patrol.
Real
is another
estate
big
even,
one.
I think, to a degree.
Yeah,
right?
real estate is okay. You get that, but that's kind of a minor industry
Is that right?
compared
Wow.
to what's going on now. I think the big push now is structural inspection, refineries, pipeline patrol, you name it, surveying. I think probably surveying and
Makes a lot
agriculture are
of
the
sense.
two biggest ones.
Yeah, certainly.
Yeah, agriculture right now is potentially one of the largest growth areas for UAVs. We're working with many different partners in putting multispectral cameras, so you have the ability to fly over a crop, do a crop reflectance map, and you can give that to your agronomist or your biologist. They can then come up with a crop prescription, and we have the potential to actually, instead of targeting all the plants, we can target just the sick ones.
Incredible.
Yeah.
So basically it's about saving a whole lot of time and gaining really more data in a short amount of time than we could really gather before.
I've got a good story for that.
Please.
So last year through Multi Rotor Heli, and one of the reasons I partner with Multi Rotor Heli is because they're one of the few businesses that sell UAVs that really emphasize the safety that you need to have, and they also are targeting more commercial. So I got a call through Multi Rotor Heli for grain inspectors up in northern Alberta. And these are different communities. I didn't realize this, but every crop has to be inspected for malicious weeds every year. They would use helicopters, drive through. I mean, driving through crops. I mean, it's a lot of work. And they came up with an idea. Hey, you know, let's use a UAV for that.
Perfect fit. Yeah.
So now they just plug into their GPS. The UAV goes up. It flies its waypoints, goes over the field. If it sees a malicious weed, it gives the exact coordinates. Comes back, sends the coordinates to the farmer, and the farmer has 2 weeks to go out and deal with these weeds. And that's where John was saying now that, you know, now with UAVs to do agricultural spraying, which is another huge one.
Yeah, we're working with DJI. They've come out with a crop sprayer, mostly targeted for the Asian market with the smaller plots of land. But we're bringing it into Canada. It's in North America now. We now have the potential to not even put a wheel on the farmer's crop.
Of course,
and
you got more surface area to work with.
That gets their attention. And when you say
bigger yield,
how would you like it if I could identify your sick plants and then target your sick plants without putting a foot on the ground? That gets their attention.
Of course, the use really, if you think about it, it's a plethora of different uses. I think about animal tracking because there is software I know for a fact in these, the Mavic Pro, you can have it lock on to, I guess, essentially a target, and it can orbit that target. It can follow that target. Is that right?
Yes.
That's mind-boggling.
It's part of their active track technology, and with every iteration of the drone, some new feature comes in, and it's brilliant.
Truly, it is. Guys, we're going to jump to a quick break. Bear with me, folks. We're going to jump to a break. We'll be right back. Stay with us.